What you guys, got another video here for you on vertical GPU mounts and are they worth it? And we're going to be vertically rising this GPU upwards so you can see it here. Now this is how it normally is situated on the motherboard, but this case, which is the BitFenix Saber, which will allow you to vertically mount your GPU using something like this riser cable. Now these riser cables allow you to basically vertically mount your GPU. Now, is it worth mounting your GPU? Well, I'll show you the trials and tribulations of what I went through, and also I'll give you my personal opinion on whether it's worth doing. Now, some people do like to vertically rise their GPU because it does look quite nice with it up vertically. But there's also a lot of pitfalls, and we'll cover those in this video as well. Now you can see here this does have also a support underneath this GPU, which doesn't really do too much, to be honest with you. There is a little bit of GPU sag there already, but I'm just going to pull these cables out and remove the card, and I'm going to vertically mount this GPU for you and show you how to do it if you want to do it. Now there's quite a few different options available to you. You can use the ribbon cables, which are riser cables, or you can use mounting systems from many different types of manufacturers, which will mount it closer to the actual motherboard itself. Now the way I'm doing it is vertically mounting it towards where the glass is going to be situated. This case does support that. So let me just remove the GPU here and I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm just going to pull this out. Now this is quite a beefy card, it's quite a thick and heavy card, and I did run into some difficulties doing this, and I'll show you those in this video and give you my personal opinion on whether it's worth doing. So let me just pull this out. Okay, so the graphics card is out, and what we're going to do here is now vertically mount it. Now you can see there is some little holes in the case there. And this is where you're going to mount your GPU. It'll be on these two little tiny plates here. You will need to punch these out, which means they're not replaceable, which is a bit of a disappointment. I'm just going to remove these two screws here, and this will be what holds the GPU in. Now you have to be very careful when you're using these vertical mounts, because this doesn't actually have a mounting system on it. It will be sort of floating in mid-air, which I was quite surprised of really, and that will depend, I suppose, on what graphics card you're using, whether you can mount it to the bottom there. So let me just remove these three screws. Now this situation here will be pushed virtually close to the glass, which will impede a bit of airflow really, to be honest, and I'll give you a good idea of what that looks like once we get the card in. Now this is a really big pet hate of mine with case builders when they do this. Basically they use this old school type of metal, which is held on with a couple of little bits of metal tacked on the side there. You have to punch them out, and once these are punched out, if you decide to put the GPU back into its normal slot on the board, you will be able to use those two little covers there on that area there. That will be the only way you can put those back. So let's get this on. So you can see here we've got the mounting area here, and there is some holes here for it to be mounted on the bottom of the case here. Sadly, in my case, this was not possible because obviously there was too much of a gap there. You would have to have some sort of bracket system on the bottom. But this will plug into the motherboard here, and of course you will bend this over, and of course you would then plug in your GPU. And you've got these little mounting screws here. These will go into this situation here, but obviously I couldn't use this method because the card was too high, which means you can't use that method. Now Cooler Master do use a bracket system like this, will actually cover the expansion slots, and they do have a ribbon cable on the back here, and this pushes the GPU back towards where the motherboard sits, which I think is better. It looks better, and it also gives a little bit more better airflow. Now as you can see here, it's £39.98 for the Cooler Master vertical GPU holder with the riser cable, and that comes as a kit. I'm not sure whether you can use that on other cases. You'll have to check that out for yourself, but this is what we're going to be using here. This is going to be the ribbon cable which we can use, which is from EZDIY-FAB. This is their store here, and you can see it's £36.99. Now if you're going to be using a vertical GPU, then you can use this method, or you can use the bracket system if it suits your case and it fits your case. You will need a 7-bay expansion slot to use that, but you can do all your own research and work out what you want to use here. There is no real big visible difference from having it vertically standing up or having it in the standard position, so it's entirely up to you. Temperatures will vary, and if you're using the ribbon method where I'm using it, it's going to be hotter because obviously the airflow is being restricted because of the glass. And also you may notice there might be a bit more noise from the GPU because it is sitting up vertically. I've also noticed that as well. So we're going to just slot this into here, and this is where it will go. This is your GPU slot. We're just going to slot that in. And once we got that in, you can see this is where the bottom is here, and this will screw down to here. But in my case, I couldn't use this method because the GPU was too high, so I have to lift it up so it would be floating. So really screwing it down was not an option for me, but it would still work. It just looked a bit cumbersome, to be honest with you, and I'm not convinced that it's a really good viable option, to be fair. So we're going to take a look at it once I get this screwed onto the case. So I'm just going to do a test fit here. You can see once this is fitted in, you can actually see the GPU is lifted off the ground. So there's no way I can mount that to the bottom. It's not going to work. I'm just going to have to push this on once I get it mounted. So let me go ahead and get this mounted on the system. Now I've used the two big thumb screws to screw the graphics card in, and the reason for this is because of the graphics card's weight, and it's quite a heavy card, and if you use the bracket system that comes with the BitFenix Saber, it's just a bit cumbersome and the screws aren't really sort of strong enough to hold the graphics card in position, and that's what I found there. You can see the tiny little screws on the countertop there to the right at the bottom. You can see the screws that they use here. They're really small, and really they're not much cop to hold a big graphics card like this in. Now this is with the graphics card screwed in here. I need to plug this in, but you can see the graphics card flopping around. It just doesn't look that sturdy to me, and to be honest, you're talking about a big heavy graphics card like this being in position. It's moving about, and I don't really like that sort of look, to be honest. And also it's going to be right up against the glass here, so if you're asking my opinion whether this is a really good option, it might look much nicer in this position like this, but personally I don't think it's a viable option for me. It just doesn't look right, doesn't look sturdy, doesn't look stable, and of course it's going to be right up against the glass. You're going to have a few mil difference there against the glass, which will obviously stop the airflow. So in my personal opinion, I don't think it's a really good option. Now underneath here you can see I've already plugged the connector in here into the card, and you can see the amount of difference. Now this is supposed to be probably mounted to the bottom of the case, and it's not. So be very careful if you're out to do this as an option for your build, because this is £39, and maybe the other option, which is the bracket system, will be a much more sturdier option for you, and plus you'll get probably better airflow because it's going to be sitting close to the motherboard, but then you lose out on a lot of slots onto the motherboard itself. Now there's no real benefit to having the graphics card this way, apart from supposedly it looks better, but personally I think it looks rubbish, and I just don't like the look of it, especially when it's up close to the glass like that. Also there's a big gaping hole at the back here, as you can see, where the card would normally be sitting back. Now if you use the kit version, which pushes the graphics card back a bit further, maybe there's an argument for it looking better that way, but personally I just don't see the point of it. This is all wobbling about. I just don't like it at all. But anyway, that's just my opinion. It's a big thumbs down for me. I'm going to be putting it back the other way. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helps you out, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye for now. Now if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the big red subscribe button on my YouTube channel and hit the bell notification button next to that to be notified when we upload new videos.